Hello and welcome to the Movement Made Better podcast. We got Neal and Coach Ray with us today. I know we just want to shoot the shit about feats of strength. They're just really amazing shit that we see sometimes, just on social media, but even throughout history, right? Mm-hmm. I think some of the stuff that we look at back at old time strongman shit that, why did it disappear? Like, it used to be really prevalent, right?
It was, yeah.
And it was like a big deal. Mm-hmm. Like when so-and-so was going to do something, like it was like a big spectacle, right? Yeah. But now it's like I don't even know the world's strongest man contest. Like I grew up watching that all the time.
Sports, man.
Sports, but you don't even really, is that what it is?
I think so.
Well, and then maybe you see this lift. You've seen it enough times, right? I mean, someone's lifting something up overhead. You see it enough times, you're like,
just take it for granted.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, that's cool. You saw it once, and people are like, oh, okay, I don't need to see it again.
Yeah.
Well, they don't pay to see that. They'd rather pay to see something else. And then if these guys aren't getting paid now to perform at what they used to be, maybe a long time ago, when the circus was really popular, or maybe these guys were making a good amount of money, and I have no idea how much money they made back then relative to everyone else.
Yeah.
But you think about, now it's like, what kind of feats can a professional athlete do on the field against another opponent? And that's kind of taking the precedence over what someone can do in the gym or lifting a rock outside.
But do you think it's because people don't have an appreciation of how much strength it takes to do that stuff?
Yeah, I think the only people who really understand that kind of stuff is the people who are in that kind of realm, right?
Right.
Like we can see something and be like, "Oh, damn, that's a lot." We can
super impressive,
what it is. But with the average person, they'll be like, "That's cool," and that's kind of it for them. Mm-hmm. Where we look at maybe some details or certain aspects that even we can include in our own training. Right? We've done that with Sunday shenanigans.
Yeah.
Like either like bike training or stuff like that. We can see that in other aspects or other events or activities and go, this seems like it could be cool to add in and just play around with it a little bit.
Well, maybe because manual labor isn't a part of everyone's lifestyle anymore, that they don't truly appreciate like how hard it is to lift something up off the ground and then to put it up overhead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or just to lift it up and walk with it, right? And move it from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I mean, we've become that sedentary of a society that we just forgot what that stuff kind of takes.
True. It's fascinating because even like somebody carrying a bag of groceries can be a feat of strength for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all relative, right?
Yeah,
it's all relative. It's all relative.
So like if you take like the day-to-day stuff or some of the mundane things we do on a day-to-day, there are feats of strength, but those feats of strength don't mean as much as if like someone's doing a Steinberg squat, right? To see somebody do that, it's like, whoa, that's a lot. Especially if it's like 400, 500 pounds. That's a lot of weight. Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's just that we're desensitized as a whole to like a lot of that stuff.
Well, when we see a Steinberg squat, we're like, damn, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. When the average person sees it, they're like, that dude's going to kill himself.
Yes.
Well, that's the other thing too, right? Is that if we got so fragile as a society, or I wouldn't even say all the world. I think it's just more Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of the Eastern European and Eastern culture still doing a lot of what some people would consider weird shit.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But if we become just so soft that we just...
I think so. Because like everything now is like, you're going to break your back. Don't do it. You're going to hurt yourself.
You're going to hurt yourself. That's what everybody says, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of saying no, what's kind of funny is if you ask people, what happens when you don't work tissues, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you don't work tissues, you don't stimulate them, you don't give them load, you don't give them movement, what happens to them? Everybody says, well, they atrophy. Well, there you go. Mm-hmm. So if you then get them to say, okay, is the body adaptable? Is it the great adapter? And a lot of people most likely say yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, well then you just gave the two exact reasons why when you do certain things, you probably won't get injured.
Yeah.
Or because you'll be your skill development will be there, your capacity will increase, right?
Yes.
Well, I think what people don't realize is that those skills that these guys are doing were developed over a long period of time. Progressive overload, but they're doing it little by little by little. But all you see is the end product of, here's my 400-pound Steinberg squat. Mm-hmm. So you're like, it's scary looking.
Yes.
To some people. But that person probably started with
A barbell.
A barbell.
Just a straight barbell, right?
That's it. And then just gradually work their way up.
Maybe that's the missing element, is that people don't see the
work.
Yeah. 'Cause like,
The journey, yeah.
when you post something or you see something like it's like you said, you don't see an end product, but I think since we're not exposed to the background and like the nitty gritty of the stuff, there's not as much appreciation for it either. Because if someone's like, okay, if I saw you, Steinberg, if I saw you starting in a barbell and then progressively over the course of, let's say, 3 years, work up to 300 pounds, then it's just like, oh, okay, that took time. It took a lot of time because there's a lot of adaptations and things that need to happen. But it's not just somebody simply walking in and going, I'm going to try this today. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Not often.
Yeah.
See, I think it's easier to relate to athletic feats, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone has tried to sprint at some point in their life.
Yeah.
Everyone has tried to jump. Everyone's tried to throw. But not everyone has tried to lift something really, really heavy.
True.
Or do something crazy rock climbing with their fingers or something acrobatic like that. But, you see a sprinter on TV, you're like, dang, PE, I used to run this.
Yeah.
And this guy's beating me by like 20 seconds or something like that. So you can appreciate, you see that gap
Yeah.
in strength and speed, whereas you may not correlate that with lifting, even though there's that same huge gap between the elite and the average.
Yeah.
Well, I like what you said earlier about the financial impact. We're to the point where kids growing up, there's no money in being a strong man. I mean, the top guys are making some bucks, don't get me wrong, but that's a very exclusive group, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Mariusz Pudzianowski did pretty damn well getting set up financially, being world's strongest man for X amount of years, right? And winning that amount of times. But the popularity, think about it, since he stopped doing that, how many people would even know who he is?
Yeah.
True.
Right?
True.
So, I mean, other than the sponsorships from metrics and the appearances and all that other stuff financially, yeah, hopefully he saved up. Because even then, I mean, how much did he really make compared to other athletes? Right? I mean, you're talking millions and millions of dollars, right? I mean, it's feats of strength probably don't financially have that same reward, perhaps like they did back in the day, because back in the day people paid to come see you do that stuff, right? And there was a spectacle. So I think you had probably a lot more income back then. That'd be interesting to check into.
Well, and then there's stories told
Right.
passed around the world about Arthur Saxon that just lifted 400 pounds overhead with one arm. So now you have all these groves of people coming in to go watch this.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like Ray was saying, you're desensitized. Everything's on social media, so it's just watered down.
That might be another big aspect too. Social media.
Yeah.
Right? Now people aren't traveling to go see stuff or whatever. Now can see something pop up at any average spot or from any average person. These feats of strength that people would maybe back in the 60s and 70s would have to travel to go see. So now everything is so convenient.
So we just take it for granted now. We see it, we just go, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, I mean, we appreciate it. We do, because we're in this profession. But a lot of people that aren't, look at it and are like, oh, that's cool. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to try that.
Yeah.
And then, scroll up, scroll down.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I think when especially on social media, when you see videos posted, to me, I think it's more disheartening to see the comments tend to be, a lot of them are, that's awesome, blah, blah, blah. But then you get just as many that, like I said, well, why? That's just stupid. Why are they doing it, right?
Yeah.
Because they can. Hello. And then secondly, it's that person's going to be crippled in no time. And you're like, maybe, maybe not. But to sit there and say that person's going to be like that right away, it's kind of like, they're going to have a price to pay. The physical toll is going to take place sooner or later, but we don't know to what extent.
Yeah.
Right?
And how long are they going to be doing this feats of strength? Is it like a professional athlete's career where they do it for this little block of time?
Short duration, right?
And then they go on and they move on. They don't do that anymore, and their body heals and they can go live their lives.
Well, the guy from Russia, he was still lifting 400 or 500 pounds at the age of 70.
What's his name?
Valentine, yeah. Because you got the video of him, that 400-pound Atlas stone?
Yeah.
And he's 70 at the time, I believe, 70 plus. Granted, not moving athletically at all, right? I mean, labored breathing, but the fact that this guy could do that at that age still is just amazingly impressive.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many times, how often is he doing that? That's why when I watched that video and looking at his age, I was like, is he practicing submaximal like he's lifting 200-pound Atlas stones on a regular basis and then just peaking up to do some, high-end maximal shit?
I'd imagine it's probably so. To put it simply, like if you look at powerlifting, like they're not always going for that one rep.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a constant thing. Instead of working with very submaximal loads to get up to that point, so they kind of peak. I'd imagine that training for strength feats is effectively the same thing. It's not any different. It's just doing what your body can handle, and then when that time comes with your training block, you can go, okay, I'm going to go for a max here and see what happens.
But they have that internal ability to access more strength than a lot of regular people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, their output's way higher.
Their output's higher because mentally they know how to tap into that. Right? And that's what somebody off the street just doesn't have that understanding or that ability. Hopefully they can develop it.
Yeah.
But it's going to take years of practice to really be able to tap into that reserve when you need it, right?
Yeah.
I know with feats of strength, you brought up just a little while ago about rock climbers, right? Mm-hmm. So strength is pretty, feats of strength, they're all different, right? When we watch somebody doing a pinky pull-up,
Yeah, you're like, what the hell?
that's amazing strength, right? But vastly different than someone pulling an airplane.
Yeah.
Both super impressive.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest with you, the single pinky pull-up to me is going to be, I appreciate that more.
Yeah. This is because the skill goes into that, right? Like it takes, so strength is a skill. At the end of the day, strength is absolutely a skill. And it's because it's only applicable to what you make it apply to. So for someone doing a pinky pull-up, that's impressive as shit. But that's because it takes so much time and certain skills in order to get there. Versus someone who's pulling a plane, that's just straight up how strong you are.
Right?
Yeah. Like are you strong enough from a straight up physical strength standpoint to pull something that weighs tons and tons of pounds versus even hanging on your pinky? Like just even if someone weighs 150 pounds, hanging in your pinky and that tendon,
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Jesus
it's ridiculous.
Christ,
That's ridiculous.
such an insane amount of tendon strength. So that the minute details and the aspects that we can pick out will allow us to go like, damn, that's actually really, really impressive.
Yeah, like the gradual build up to not injure yourself and to get that one piece of your body so strong and have it connected to the rest it's insane.
Yeah.
It's a skill. Strength is a skill. And that's a big part of what people don't get about strength. They think it's a brute thing. And there is brute behind it. But you have to have skill.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same as when people say, oh, I can't deadlift because every time I deadlift, I get hurt. It's because you don't have the skill. You haven't learned the no one's coached you or taught you the subtleties. The things that you physically don't see unless you're really into what you do.
Yeah.
Right? Like we can watch somebody without saying a word, we can watch somebody how they deadlift. And we can visually see if they've got the cues or if they got access to the little subtleties.
Yeah.
But that's because we've been watching this shit for so long, right? That we can the eyes can pick it up, right?
Yeah.
But that's skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once someone develops this skill technique, then it's about, okay, do you know how to program in a way that is going to get you stronger but not get hurt?
Yeah.
Right? Because that skill is that part of it, and then the programming is the other part of it.
Which,
Huge part of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like injuries, actually, which is another big part. Injuries will absolutely take away your ability to practice. So like for climbing, for example, like when we talked about climbing, it's like, strengthen your tendons, get your grip strength a little stronger. So I started incorporating different things for that. But the biggest piece of advice you gave, Neal, was don't do it too much.
Yeah.
I'm just not conditioned for it. And that's fine, but it takes time for that conditioning to kind of come in. So it's a matter of how can you do things and not get hurt? Can you program intelligently enough to do so?
Yeah, it's finding the right dosage. It's the proper volume. So you can get 100 people together and give them the same exact goal to achieve, right? From a strength standpoint, but you're going to have 100 different outcomes based off of the individual themselves, right? So genetic structure, body structure, all these things, right? Skill, dispositions, natural abilities that some people have that others just can't tap into.
Yeah.
They have to be coached into it, right?
Yeah.
So you got all these different things, but how can one person handle more volume than somebody else that can't, right? We can take two people that have the same body structure, the same height, the same weight, right? And all of a sudden, one of those people can handle more volume than the other. And those are things that I don't think we can really, unless you get a shitload of testing done, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, how many facilities have access to that shit, right? So 95% of us, 96% of most trainers don't have access to that stuff,
Yeah.
right? So then we have to figure out, in the meantime, you know, and not only as a trainer, but a trainee, I've got to listen to my body and figure out self-regulation, right? And figure out, okay, is this going to be a little too much? Is this not enough?
I can, you know, to your point there, I read this book from Arthur Saxon a long time ago, and he was talking about, like, I don't want to only be able to lift this thing once during the day. I should be able to lift this weight multiple times throughout the day because strength endurance is far more valuable than max strength.
Yeah.
Even though what he was doing was a max strength lift to everyone, he could do this 5-6 times throughout the day, not necessarily in a row like we think about.
But he can do it in the morning.
But endurance to him was throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you could say, hey, Arthur, there's a stone. He'd be like, all right, you can go pick it up and walk around with it. Where the rest of us, we'd be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm going to go sit down. I'm going to take a nap.
Yep.
Come back, give me in an hour.
2
or two,
weeks,
right?
let my nervous system heal.
Right? And so that's a great point.
Yeah.
It's really having that strength access and increasing your capacity and your stamina, right? Your ability to access that whenever and not just at a specific time and with a specific setting.
Yeah. So that's more along the lines of, well, at least what I call baseline strength.
Right? Yeah.
What's something that you can do on any given day, regardless of what it is. So someone were to like, okay, I can, like my best squat was 300 pounds. So like, okay, cool. But what can you do on an average day? If you came in and let's say you were even slightly tired, what's a weight that you can do for a single rep? When your baseline strength goes up, your absolute strength goes up too. It just follows suit. So the higher you work from a baseline, the better off you'll be long term. And so that aspect of like, you know, doing the same thing multiple times a day, if your baseline strength and endurance is up that high, well, now when it comes to that application of a singular lift or whatever the case may be, it's easy to handle relatively.
And I think that's a good point for someone that likes to max out all the time and understanding, look, here's a better way to gauge it without blowing out your nervous system and your joints.
Yeah. What is probably, like, for me, acrobats to me, for me personally, are probably my most impressive strength artists, more than a power lifter, right? Yeah. That's just me personally. What would you guys like consider your favorite or your most impressive?
I'd go with acrobatics or gymnastics. They're the same thing, but those two, that would be by far, because that's not just like absolute strength to a degree. That's a lot of skill. That's so much skill, and being like, and having very acute awareness of what you're doing as you're doing things too.
I'd have to go with like high level parkour athletes, just because that stuff to me is so applicable to everything.
Yeah,
you know, the run. I mean, you see them jumping off buildings, these gaps, and then that level of mental commitment to be able to make that.
Oh, yeah. You know? Oh, you can't doubt yourself.
It's like there's no. I mean,
you can't. Yeah, you're in. You can't doubt yourself. Tomato.
Oh yeah,
Tommy.
Yeah.
Like the shit he does, you're like, that's otherworldly. And I mean, really, when the first time I saw him, I'm like, shut the front door. I'm like, there's no way, right?
Yeah. I mean, because the consequences are so high.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think the fact that he can produce that much explosiveness to cover those distances is insane. But his tuck technique, the fact that he can time that is really, it's amazing. It really is, to be able to time precisely when he's making impact. I mean, and like anybody, he makes mistakes, right? I mean, there is that. I mean, you'll see his blooper reels. There's some impressive bloopers, but he doesn't shy away from it. he's got the confidence, and he has the confidence in his abilities to, even if he does screw up, okay, I'm going to get that. I have it, right?
And to me, like the skills that those guys have, if they had the size or the hand-eye coordination, they could take that to any sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, for me, because like acrobats, like the Masudi brothers, it's just amazing strength, but with control. The fact for me is, outside of gymnastics is usually done at a faster pace.
Yeah.
Right? Where acrobats are much slower, typically speaking, is through some of their movements. But the fact that you can see a base, like in a 3 or 4 person group, the base person can hold and support 3 or 4 people moving on top of him or her, right? Females do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's impressive, utterly impressive shit. Because the fact that you can support the movement of 2 or 3 other people on top of you is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the level of, fine adjustments you have to make, because it might look like they're staying completely still.
They're not, though.
But they're not. There's these little micro adjustments that
Right.
they have to have, putting tension in different areas of the body, maybe manipulating their fingers just a little. It's almost like if you're in a handstand, right? Your hands are active. You're not just balancing.
Yeah, great point, right? When people go to do handstands, I think they just think their hands are on the ground, but you gotta grip,
It's
like
you're
your
falling-
fingers are working.
If you're falling a certain direction, it's like you push that direction with your hands.
Yeah.
And you push the other way, and it's just constant fight between falling forward or falling backwards, or maybe falling from side to side.
Yeah, and that's a huge aspect of doing a handstand. But I think if you ask most people, they wouldn't have any idea that that's your hand. Your hands they're your feet now,
Yeah.
right? So the same thing we do with our feet, which we probably take for granted. We don't really. Some people don't do it well at all, right? But now your hands are doing the same thing. So you have to be able to shift weight. You got to know how to use your thumbs, all your fingers to apply force and really create more stability, less stability. And you've got to now get used to being upside down, which is kind of weird when you think about now your legs are up top. You got those things moving around. So yeah, it's a completely different orientation, different vectors, but that's a very subtle thing as far as how do you use your hands when you're in a handstand position. But a lot of people don't really talk about that, even when they're trying to coach it.
Yeah. I feel like maybe that's where the subtleties, right? So people who pay attention to the really, really minor things can pick up really minute adjustments and movements that need to happen. So like if somebody's being taught that, like if someone were to teach me how to do a handstand, because by the way, I can't, but like if someone were to coach me through it, I'm aware of my body enough, which is another aspect too, is the person that's doing it having enough self-awareness to go, I need to make these adjustments because these don't work for me. Taking that and then going, okay, well, based off the cues that I'm getting and the cues that I know I can manage, where can I meet in the middle?
Yeah, because I think especially with acrobats, it's because you're going so slow through the movements, you really have to understand levers and the physics behind these positions. And I think that's what's the most impressive for me personally about acrobats. But I love looking back at the old strongman stuff, and like you had referred earlier about masseter training, right? Bite strength, and seeing how that used to be a lot more prevalent. It's not. You don't really see a lot of people doing it today. And when we do Sunday shenanigans, we see the comments of people making comments about it.
Yeah.
But the jaw is a very strong structure. Pound for pound, it's one of the strongest structures in the human body. The masseter tissue is pound for pound one of the strongest tissues in the body. What I think is interesting with the teeth, because that's most people's concerns, right?
Yeah.
But I think you have to dig deeper into the teeth structure to think about what have we learned from anthropology standpoint of what's happened with the teeth, with the jaw and teeth structure of humans over the centuries. It's decreased.
Yeah.
Right. So we've seen the jaw structure get smaller, right? If we choose softer foods, it'd be interesting to see the root depths of the teeth in a human skull, 400, 500, 700 years ago compared to today, right? Because think about it, if a tree's growing and it's growing, it digs its roots in appropriate to its environment.
Yeah.
right? So if it has to go for water down deeper, it puts those roots down deeper to get water, right? But if it grows up in a very windy area, then it spreads the roots out farther to get and deeper to make sure it's more structured.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious, I mean, if the body is the great adapter, if you're putting those demands on your teeth, then in retrospect, your the roots should be just much more solid than the average person's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense because a long time ago, people were gnawing on roots.
Yes,
Right?
right,
To get
yeah.
nutrients. And then also, there was a lot more raw meat, right? They get a kill, they're eating raw meat, and they're trying to basically rip this thing off the bone.
Yeah, which isn't easy, right?
You're biting and you're pulling, so there's a lot more force. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Because I think what's interesting
Talk to Lily about this.
What's interesting is because you can take, you play tug of war with a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, you yank the shit out of that rope, and they don't give a. They're like, they're right back at it, right? I mean, they hang on for dear life, right? I mean, they can lock it in. So it'd be interesting, with the appropriate workload and progression. How do your teeth adapt to that? Because once the body senses pressure, then it's got to figure, okay, well, if this is going to be a normal thing, then I have to fortify that area. I have to make sure that area can withstand the pressure and the stresses that are going to be put on it.
Yeah. That's like you just actually hit the nail on the head is what's the proper amount of stimulus, right?
Right.
So like if you're new to something, obviously you're not going to give it a shit ton of stimulus. It's not smart.
Yeah.
You're going to give it a little bit at a time over time, and then you can increase either what frequency or the load variability or even time under tension. You can there's a lot of moving parts. It's not as simple as going out and doing it. But if someone's training something that's new to them and they're going about it correctly, oftentimes the results will be extremely positive. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, when we're doing master training, it's not like we just pick up a 30 kilo kettlebell and put it in our teeth. I mean, you work up to that, right? You say you get used to the feel of what's a 4 pound kettlebell hanging from my teeth. What does that feel like, right? And when I bite on the towel, does that weight as I'm moving? That's where that adaptation and all that tissue, especially down into the neck, where you get that nice and strong, right? So, for me, I've been using that a lot more just to help reduce impacts on the ice when I'm playing hockey, because I want to make sure that my jaw, my neck are nice and strong. So I've been using master training a lot for the last year and a half, just to help. And it's really out on the ice now that, when I do take hits, I don't feel that same up through the neck. It feels pretty solid.
Yeah.
You wearing a mouthpiece out there too?
No.
No.
I don't know. Full cage.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So with the full cage, I don't wear a mouthpiece. So
I would imagine like being able to bite on that mouthpiece might help you stabilize that too, right?
Well, it's crazy. What's funny is you see the mouthpiece in there. I don't even know when I do wear one, I couldn't even tell you if I do bite down on it or not, because I'm just so intent on the game. I don't even know if I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. And a lot of guys, you'll see at the NHL level, a lot of guys, their mouthpiece isn't even in their teeth. Like Patrick Kane is known for is half the mouthpiece is sticking out, like he chews on it. And then, you'll see it. Football players, NBA players, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
If they're wearing a mouthpiece, half of it will be hanging out of their mouth. It's kind of funny because you're like, why do you even have that?
Right. Yeah.
And it's supposed to be around the teeth. It's supposed to be in your mouth. But they're playing and it's half sticking out.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Because the jaw alignment thing is a big thing for concussion protocols, but also, making sure that the jaw is aligned and the neck is aligned. I know that's a big aspect of concussion protocols and recovery. So I think instead of being reactive, let's be proactive. Work those tissues, right? And go with that old strongman stuff, because that's what we used to see those, a lot more masseter and jaw lifts back in the day. I mean, that went the way of the dodo bird for whatever reason.
I don't know. You know what that kind of reminds me of is looking at old Tyson training videos. Or if you look at wrestlers too, they do like a lot of neck rolling.
Right.
Right.
A lot of neck rolling.
It's the average person would see that and be like, dude, you're gonna hurt yourself. Come on, man. Like, what the hell? But these athletes are their neck is so strong. If you look at like even Tyson's neck back when he was in his prime, his neck was super thick, but they were strong enough to manage adding that into their training in order to make them more efficient at whatever sport they're doing. So there was specificity behind it, but it helped. It helped a lot. So like you're doing masseter training for hockey, that would make sense for hockey, or if somebody's doing some kind of an impact sport like football or boxing or whatever the case is. But that's where the value comes in is your training helping you do the activities that you like.
That's true. So for the average person, is it worth their time? To them.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
We think it's valuable.
We think it's there's value to everyone. Yeah. It's just then a question of the person has to step back and ask themselves, do I need this? Mm-hmm. I think it's not even do I want this? Do I need this? I think you have to ask yourself that first. Do I need this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then if I do, okay, how badly do I want it?
Right.
Because that's always the other thing too. Mm-hmm. We always hear that. Mm-hmm. We always get, that's what clients do. They're like, oh, I want this, this, and this. Oh, you do you? Okay, let's see how badly you want it, right?
Yeah.
And so what they do outside the gym often, a lot of times will say they don't want it that badly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you've got to see value in it. So when you see old man, we're looking at old man, or feats of strength or whatever, we look at stuff and we see value in what they're doing. And we go, oh man, that helps develop that. Or you have to have that to be able to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And then you sit there and go, well, I don't need the whole thing, but I do like this little aspect of what that person just did.
Yes.
So it's being able, you don't need the whole recipe, but you just like certain things that people did. It's like making cheesecake, right?
Yeah.
Everybody makes cheesecake, but people make it differently.
Yeah.
Right? So some people may be like, oh, I've never seen cheesecake done that way. I like that, right? And so they'll take just that little aspect of just that because it brings a ton of value to their next cheesecake, right?
Yes.
So for us, when we look at skills and impressive stuff like that, it's some of it may be silly, but the fact that these people can do this is good for them. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. People always like, why? Why not? Mm-hmm. If we just sat on our asses and didn't do any of this, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we're at today. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have the advancements in technology. We wouldn't have advancements in society because we would have just been lazy asses and just did nothing because we would have said, well, what's the point? Why do we need that? Yeah. So in everything, if you see something, you say, why? And somebody says, why do you do that? Why not? Mm-hmm. I mean, because I think we all love to see what humans are capable of.
Yeah, for sure.
And if we see some new shit, that just takes our thought process to a different level, right?
Absolutely.
It's like we said with Sunday Shenanigans, like a lot of it, like I look at other shit and I go, oh, I'd like to try that out. Yeah. I'd like to see what that feels like, right? So you got to do it, right?
Yeah, you should try. That's the thing, you should try stuff just to try sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not... Obviously safely.
Yeah. I mean, some maximal, right? Yeah, some maximal, right? But
like if you see something cool, but like, that's awesome. Let me try this out just to see what happens. And it's cool to change up your training, right? Incorporate different things and be like, I'm gonna train this for a little while. Although there might not even be a reason. It might just be for fun. And you like doing it. And then you can lay off of it and continue back on to whatever else you're doing. But adding different modalities into your training it can have a lot of benefit overall. There's nothing wrong with being skilled, even if it's minimally skilled at a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. Actually, I would argue that having minimal skill at a lot of different things often makes you better as an individual. I don't want to say athlete, but as an individual.
Yeah, a little more well-rounded. Mm-hmm. You're probably less likely to hurt yourself too if you're training in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have more skill sets, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we didn't all just grow up playing the same game. We played a variety of games, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not talking organized sports. We're just talking games. Yeah. Right? I mean, we went outside. We played with our friends, and you just created games. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, Atari was like a new thing for me. But I was still outside playing with friends. So, like, you created shit. Like, you figured, okay, what are we going to do? And you created games. Like, you used your imagination. Mm-hmm. And then you tried it out. You said, well, let's see if this works. And then if you needed to make new rules on the fly, you just did it.
Yeah.
Right?
To your advantage, huh?
Well, of course. Of course, bro. That's what you... If you ain't cheating, you're not trying, right? That's what you got to do, bro.
We're going to play tag, but you can't tag me.
You can't tag anyone under 5'4". That's me. I am good. But yeah, that's the thing I think is what I personally love seeing about humans doing just amazing shit, right? I think that's what's amazing. Like, I just watched a video of a guy. I had no idea that this was going to happen, but he was in a hot air balloon and he ties himself in. And he starts belaying himself down.
No,
So he's hanging from. And so when I saw the video, it starts. You see him. You can see the clip. And so I'm like, and I thought he was just elevated up somewhere. And then so I start watching the video, and then all of a sudden he looks up, and there's the basket in the hot air balloon. And we go, oh, this hanging from a hot air balloon. But then he like releases it, and he starts falling. Yeah, so he just for whatever reason he was all like, you know what? I'm gonna see if I just belay myself down whatever. I mean, he was a good distance down beneath the hot air balloon, and then just had his parachute on, and he just went and just let go. Well, that's crazy shit.
That's terrifying.
But is it? No, because the parachutes are pretty reliable, right?
Yeah.
It's like the dude that went to the Red Bull guy that set the world record for a height for diving, right?
Oh, that was wasn't that from space?
Yeah, from space.
Yeah.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah.
But once again, people would say why. Well, a lot of people are like, what's the point? Well, why not?
Yeah.
That's all what humans want to do. Like, let's see what we're capable of doing.
It's like trying to get to the moon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Is there anything out there for us?
No.
There's
Right?
massive risk trying to make it up there.
Yeah.
Right? Massive risk. What was the reward? Well, we don't know until we get there, right?
Yeah.
But it was the fact that humans were able to do that. We were able to send a projectile, a satellite, to the moon with humans. Not even just unmanned, with humans, and then we brought them back.
Yeah.
That's impressive shit.
That is.
I mean, that's not a strength shit. That's just an impressive human feat.
Right.
Right? And so I had that at the heart of it for me. That's what I'm all about, seeing people continually try to push the boundaries. And are some eggs going to get broken? Yeah. Don't think that, it's like when people are like, well, people die as a result. Well, people die crossing the road. Yeah. So what's the matter? What's the matter? Like, what's the difference? That always makes me laugh when people say that. Well, you could die doing that. You know how many people just died in the last 10 seconds sitting down their asses at home having a heart attack? So what's the difference?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You might as well live, get your ass out there, do some fun shit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even when, climbers, people that I'm pretty sure when, if soloists and things like that, when they die, if you could talk to them afterwards, I would be very surprised if they regret what they did. They're like, I lived my life.
Yeah.
I did what I was loving. I knew it was a possibility, but yet they still did it, and I don't think they would take it back.
No.
Yeah, what was that movie on Netflix with that kid that was
the
the
alpinist,
alpinist,
right? And so watching that, I didn't think he was gonna die. Like, when that part of the movie came, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
Like,
I've
damn. Oh yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh yeah, incredible.
Sorry, man.
Sorry, bro. We just
But if you watched him, I mean, he was happy, he's joyful.
Yeah.
If you took that away from him,
he'd be miserable.
he would probably be going to a deep dark hole.
Yeah.
So
And so we talk, and so if we're talking mental health, well, for some of these people, I mean, that's part of keeping them going,
Yeah.
right? What drives you? What motivates you? And for people that want to do feats of strength and just crazy shit, that's what motivates them. That's what drives them. It's not for everybody, I mean, it's all relative. Get out there and do something.
Yeah.
Go out, hit the dance floor. That may be a high risk. That may be a high adventure thing for you, right?
Yeah.
It may very well be. If that's the case, man, get off your ass and hit the dance floor for even just a few minutes, right? And so it's all relative to the individual.
But there's just something about overcoming some kind of physical challenge,
Yeah.
right? That gives you confidence physically in your body, and mentally too.
Yeah, that's why I always prefer watching the Paralympics over the regular Olympics. I love the regular Olympics. Like I love seeing people set records and times and things. But to me, the Paralympics are way more engaging. Because of the fact that these people have physical limitations, whether they were born with them or whether it took place at some point in their life. But they didn't just sit in the corner. They didn't feel sorry for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume they did at some point, but then they got to the point where they said, "I'm better."
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to let this define who I am.
Well, I remember when Nova was a baby and she rolled over for the first time. Like she looked up and was just like was smiling.
She was happy about
She's
that,
not
right?
how old she was. She was little, 3, 2, I forget now.
Yeah,
2, 3 months old or whatever it was. Whenever you roll over,
Yeah.
but you could see it right there. I mean, she doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
you just see this happiness in her face
Yeah.
right.
because she was able to overcome something, and she'd been trying to do it for however many months.
Oh, you saw her struggle.
Oh yeah,
Well, you see the
Yeah.
struggle,
And then,
right?
boom, she flips over. She's like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
that's
Right?
different."
Exactly. Because she accomplished what she couldn't verbally tell you.
No.
She can't communicate that, right? But she sees you and Laylee walking around and she knows that's where I want to get to. I see these two people doing something and I can't do it, so that's what I want to get to, right? And so then she goes through the natural processes of getting to that point. Picking her head up first, rolling second, right? All those things. But yeah, the effort that you see babies use just to roll, right? And then when they accomplish it, the fact that they're just...
technically a feat of strength right there.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a massive feat of strength, right? They have to work at it. I mean, it doesn't... The first time they go to try to roll, it just doesn't happen. It takes probably, a good couple weeks for them to maybe, to get to that point where they're like, "Joop."
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it goes quick. All of a sudden,
It goes quick. Yeah, it's interesting.
around the room,
right?
around.
As a parent, it goes by probably too quick. Huh?
I'm like, damn, how'd you get over that? That's barrel roll, Dad.
Yeah. But like that right there, what you just said, like the fact that she was just happy with that thing, we miss that as adults.
Yes.
Like how often we don't get that often. Like we were talking about that when we went climbing a while ago, and it's just like it feels so exhilarating and so good to go like, damn, I put in effort and I got it.
Yeah,
Yes. We miss that as adults because things are convenient.
Right?
We try to play things a little bit too safe, like to be frank.
So we become too fearful.
Yeah. So it's like, no, I don't want to do that because this might happen. Honestly, screw that. Like sometimes you got to be cool with the consequences. And oftentimes for a lot of things, consequences are relatively small. But we miss that like childlike enjoyment of like the little things.
yeah.
I love that shit. Like we go climbing, hit a climb, I'm like, yeah, what's the next one? Like it feels good. Don't lose that element of yourself.
That's big.
Don't
That's
lose
huge.
that element of
Yes.
yourself. Because as soon as you do, you just become you're kind of losing yourself at that point.
That's when
that's what gives life excitement.
Yeah, I think that's when you've already thrown the towel. You've already thrown in the towel when you get to that point where you're like, I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to try anything different. But yeah, I think that's the one thing. It's like you said, for me, it's the same thing. When you accomplish it, you're like, yes, it's that good. I mean, it's that visceral, just like, yes, I did it, right? Because you appreciate the effort that you put into that, the time that it took, and it may have been a long time, but you finally overcame it. You did it, right?
Yeah.
And so that as kids, we did that all the time. But like you said, then we're told, act your age, be an adult, and be obviously in some parts of society, being an adult means sitting on your ass and doing nothing. Right? So it is what it is. But I think, yeah, like you said, when people ask, why do these people do these things on social media? Yes, some of it's probably monetary, right? They're looking to make their mark. They're looking to be a brand or whatever, right? And great, good for them. If that's what you're after and you're able to monetize that, that's your why. That was their why, right? But for some people, it's just they love to do that shit.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about monetizing it. They don't give a shit about being famous. They just love doing it.
Yes.
You know? It's like when the first time we saw Juji Mufu the split with the 225 overhead. Holy dude!
Yeah.
I mean, that shit went viral, crazy, like super quickly, right? Now, granted, he's monetized it, right? He's done really well for himself. John's done a great job. But I think what I love about John is how much fun he has doing the stuff that he does.
Yeah.
You see the joy in his face. Like, he has fun.
Yes. He's like one of the few people where you actually see raw ass enjoyment.
Yes.
Doing something. Like other people are like, oh, okay, cool. But him, he's like, yeah, he's juiced. He's
Juiced.
And it's awesome to see that because this is something you don't see often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about him is the fact that you see that enjoyment when he does something. And he just has fun with it.
And it seems like he would do it regardless if there was a camera on him or not.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Yes.
That's the thing too.
And that's the authenticity, right?
Yeah.
That's that genuine sincerity that's there. Like, you see it. And it's like you said, if the cameras weren't there, he wouldn't give a shit. He'd still want to see, can we do this?
Well, and that's the thing I would want to challenge every trainer out there that does post stuff on social media is, would you do the same stuff you're doing in your training if there was no social media and no camera?
That's actually a good question.
Would you do it? Like,
Yeah.
yes or no?
I don't know.
If you say yes, then you probably need to change your training a little bit. Like, if you say that you'd only do this for the camera, then you probably need to change your training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Like, for us, when we do Sunday Shenanigans, that started just because there was just fun shit to try to do.
Yeah. And we just
And you guys are just sharing it.
Yeah.
we just happen to have cameras rolling at the time that we're doing shit.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not just to post, it's like to also see how we do.
Yeah.
Cause like, yeah, we post shit and it's cool, but like, it's also cool to go like, all right, like, remember when you did this time? Like, all right, we did this that time. Let's do something different this time. Let's make it harder, or let's change a variable. Without being seen, are you happy doing stuff?
Yeah.
And honestly, for me, I'm happy doing everything I do.
Yeah.
I do it without recording shit because that doesn't matter. I'm doing it for me, not for everybody else.
Well, I mean, we didn't start that till after the pandemic started, but it was just a way of giving people some different ideas of things that they could do at their home. You know, that you didn't need a gym for. But the fact that, we know that strength training is not typically fun. It's looked upon as just this miserable, just wretched shit that, I have to do. But no, there should be a lot of enjoyment, fun in training itself. It's stuff that you're not good at. Training should be taking those things that you're not good at and trying to make yourself better, but it shouldn't be mundane. It shouldn't be miserable. It shouldn't be like going to school. It should be like just, I'm going to have fun. Yeah. It should be like an amusement park.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to say, okay, what's possible? This thought popped into my head. I think we can try this and see if it works. There's only one way to try it. There's only one way to find out. Yeah. We got to try it. And so the results may be bad, the results may be good. It is what it is. But we try to mitigate the risks as much as possible.
Yeah. And you can always come back and try it again later, right? If things don't go.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, there's times where we tried shit and it's just like, it was good. Didn't work out maybe the way we wanted to, but we'll do something different. There's always something different to do or something to add in order to make it a little bit more exciting. Enjoy what you do. Like, it's what you do. You spend your time there. You spend your time doing these particular things. Do you really want to feel like you're wasting your time, or do you want to get the most out of it?
It's almost like when, like the mentality is different from when we get an injury. It's an inconvenience. It's a learning experience, but it's an inconvenience. It's like, shit, it just threw me off track. But then when you're good, then you go back to what you're doing. But a lot of people would just never go back.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're like, nope. Don't want to go through that again, because they don't view it as a learning experience and they don't view it as an inconvenience. They view it as a life-changing experience that they're going to be like, nope, I don't ever want to experience that again.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into that possibility of, instead of trying to see, okay, can you do it and eliminate that? So that, I think that's a different mindset.
And I also think being able to get over that mental hurdle of getting back to that activity. Maybe you don't do it as hard as you did it before. But like getting yourself back into that environment is just a massive boost. So, hey, okay, I can do this again. Okay, I trust that ankle. Hey, maybe I'm not going to put myself in that same position again or take as reckless of a fall, but I'll still go work around that.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe it's just because there's some freaking groundhog dug a hole in the field and you were running, you just didn't see it, right?
Yeah.
That shit happens. It's life. Doesn't mean you don't, if you're out playing playing chase or soccer or something that happened, you don't just go, well, I'm done. You rehab the injury. Hopefully it's nothing that altering, but you rehab the injury and then you take yourself back out on the pitch and you go, right? You don't let that little hole stop you from continuing to do what you do.
Yeah. And build your confidence over time too. Injuries at the end of the day drop your confidence in pretty much almost anything you can do, right? So every one of us has been injured here.
Oh yeah.
But if you slowly work back into that thing or that activity and not just go full blast, because there are people who do that, right? Who are just like, all right, cool, I'm back, 100%, let's go. Might not be the best thing to do, but
Probably not.
But at the same time, the more you do it, the more confident you get, and so now you're less likely to even potentially mess yourself up even more because you're just not confident doing that activity. Like when I hurt myself deadlifting years ago, it was that same thing. It took me months to kind of come back into deadlifting. Like it took me 6 months.
Oh.
And so I had sciatica. I didn't squat. I didn't deadlift. Even sitting down was just disturbingly painful for a little while. And so for me to get back into doing what I did, and I think that when I came off that injury, I hit a PR, but it took me a long time to build that confidence. So as long as you're doing what you can and feeling safe with it, you won't think about the injury anymore. Because now it's a thing of, okay, I know I got hurt doing this. I won't do this one specific thing. So now I can make adjustments to do all this other stuff that doesn't impact or limit what I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing for me when I, came back into climbing after I hurt my ankle.
Yeah.
But when I hurt my ankle, I also fell into a hole.
Yeah, you fell into a hole.
Right. So that was one of those things. I've fallen, I've taken that same fall 1,000 times, but
it
this
just
one
happened.
time
Yeah.
there was a massive divot in the mat, and I was the unlucky person that day that fell into that hole.
Yeah.
Right.
But obviously, the getting over that to get back on the wall and start trusting everything, trusting that drop down, it took a while.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Right.
You don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, think about our friend Steve, right? Mm-hmm. The bicep, right? From a few years back.
Yeah.
And now he's going to have to come back from shoulder issue,
yeah,
right?
Now he's boxing again. I just talked to him.
Oh, we'll see. So he's all right.
He's not climbing yet.
Yeah.
He's boxing again.
Okay, well, that's a huge.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a
Some
huge
light boxing.
Damn, that's
so
still.
no grappling and no climbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, now he got injured grappling, so now it's going to be interesting to see how long does it take for him to get the confidence to go back into grappling, right?
That's what he said too.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you're listening, Steve. Sorry, man. It's confidential information. But yeah, he said the same thing. It's going to be more mental than physical.
Yeah.
And that's how it is for most people.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And some people take the option of just shying away from it and not getting back on the horse. It is what it is. For us, it's just, I think we try to give people that perspective of, hey, man, at least get back in the saddle again. Give it another go. That's what life's about, right? It's like they say, why do you fall down? Because you can see if you get back up, right? It's as simple as that. So, but thank you for joining us on this episode. Till next episode, be good to each other. Listening to our podcast, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and whatever platform you're on, either Apple, iTunes, or Spotify, please, if you could leave a review, we'd appreciate that. If you have any questions that we can answer for you, be sure to leave those in the comments also.
If you're looking for more information on our education, our products, please go to www.stickmobility.com.
And also hit that subscribe button to that YouTube channel, and don't forget our live Instagram classes 3 times a week. If you want to join in, grab your sticks and hit that 45-minute